Hello, and welcome back to season 4 of Visiting Dugout. I am Crystal O'Keefe, podcaster, managing editor, writer, and all things at Southside Sox. And I have Claire Jones back this season to talk about the Mariners. So, Claire, welcome back.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Of course, exciting. A lot of things recently just happened with the Mariners. Randy Johnson just had his jersey retired, which was a very special moment. What's new? What's going on in Seattle?
Yeah, that was really cool. I think there was some bad blood between him and the organization for a long time. So I'm glad that they were able to like put that aside and retire his number as he deserved. It's a little bit weird seeing the two 51s because Ichiro wore number 51 as well. But I don't know, just like how lucky we were to have both of them wear Mariners uniforms at some point. Um, Let's see. The Mariners, on the other hand, having a little bit of trouble right now. They just got swept at home by the Kansas City Royals. So vibes are not great right now. Luckily, nobody in the AL West seems to want to win. So their division is somehow still competitive. I heard, I think someone on Lookout Landing described it as the IL West, which I enjoy. I mean, I don't enjoy that, but
Yeah.
it is clever. But yeah, we're the whole division is just like really struggling right now. Mariners are pretty banged up. Cal Raleigh's day to day right now. And like for Cal Raleigh to be day to day like that, he must be in a lot of pain because I think in like 2022 he had to have like a surgery on his hand after the season, and so like the fact that he was a catcher with like half a thumb, and he played like every day, so I don't know. I feel like he must be in it must be bad, whatever's going on. So hope he feels better soon. But yeah, let's see. A couple of the big bullpen arms. Gabe Spire just went on the IL. Matt Brash just went on the IL. So lucky for you, you won't have to face that slider. um, yeah, I don't know. Things are a little rough in Mariner land right now. Brendan Donovan is supposedly going to come back for the series in Chicago. I think he's like doing his rehab stint with their Arkansas Double A team, and then he's going to join the Mariners in Chicago. Hopefully, I don't know. They said he was supposed to be ready for the this last homestand, and he was not. So I don't know. Fingers crossed. But yeah, things are a little bit rough on the Mariners side of things. Bats not doing great. I don't know. It just they're the bats. Yeah, the offense is struggling. And they're really having a hard time preventing runs. Just not a great defensive team. I think Cole Young is by far the standout in terms of good defense, but yeah, I don't know. It's vibes are not great in Seattle right now.
Doesn't seem like, yeah, vibes are great in the American League West. I looked it up and the Athletics are just barely above 500. Everyone else is way below what you would expect, especially after, the Mariners had a good season last year. I was kind of expecting them to follow suit, but brutal. So let's go back in time to the off season. Were you happy with what the Mariners did? Do you feel like they could have done more? Are there like huge gaps in what the Mariners needed for the 2026 season?
Yeah, I think overall I was mostly satisfied with what they did. They signed Josh Naylor to an extension right off the bat, and that got everybody super fired up, especially after their season ended in such a disappointing way. Um, yeah, so that was really cool. It was really exciting to finally get the Brendan Donovan trade done. I feel like people have been doing like Brendan Donovan trade scenarios for like a couple of seasons now. So I'm sure all the other Mariners podcasters are like very excited to have that done, so they don't have to keep doing like hypothetical trades. And then they traded their catching prospect Harry Ford to the Washington Nationals for Jose Ferrer, who's a left-handed relief pitcher. Um, I think people were pretty surprised by that just because Harry Ford was like their most touted prospect. But when Cal Raleigh is like your predominant catcher, like you're really not going to have a whole lot of time to play. And I think that that was really important or is really important, like for his development. Um, so far, I think people are pretty happy about having Jose Ferrer on the team. He's like one of their, well, I guess Gabe Spires on the IL, but he's a lefty. He throws hard. And he's had some pretty bad luck just in terms of like the defense behind him has not been very good, but pitching wise he looks great. So I'm pretty happy about that. I do kind of wish that they had traded for or acquired one more leverage reliever. I think there have been a couple of instances so far this season where like games were tied, or the Mariners were ahead, or like could have feasibly maybe won the game if they had had, like maybe one more leverage guy to come in and pitch um, in relief. But overall, yeah, I think it was a pretty good off season for them. I feel like usually the Mariners are pretty stingy, and that's I'm sure very familiar with Sox fans. A big point of contention when it comes to like off season acquisitions. But I think that this one went better than a lot of off seasons have gone.
Yeah, I was very happy and celebrating for all of you with the Naylor extension because he is like I'm not supposed to like him as a White Sox fan just because of kind of the torment that White Sox have faced against him, but he's such a likable dude and he's a good player, so I was cheering with all of you for that one at the very least. So the Mariners are clearly off to a rough start. The whole AL West is off to a rough start. Do you think there's a chance that they kind of really lock in and are doing better? Like, are you feeling confident that the season can turn around? Because again, we're recording on May 4th, so it's still very early in the season. But do you think there's a way for them to turn it around?
You know, I hope so. I feel like a lot of people talk about like regression to the mean just in terms of like, like Cal Raleigh last year hit 60 home runs and like obviously he's not going to hit 60 home runs every season. So like in that way I think he's kind of coming back to earth. But also I don't think that like the Mariners lineup can continue to be as bad as they have looked. I don't really know what they could do about their defense. That's a big problem. Um, I think something that's been kind of hard is they've had a lot of injuries kind of to start the season on the left side of the infield. JP Crawford was on the IL to begin the season, and now Brendan Donovan's been on the IL. And so they've had their like bench guy Leo Rivas doing a lot of starts. I think he's about 25 or 30 plate appearances away for the total that he got all of last season in terms of plate appearances. So that's been kind of tough. I mean, he's doing the best that he can. He's just, you know, not really he's a bench guy, and so that's I think been kind of tough. He is a switch hitter, which is I think pretty helpful because the Mariners are more left-handed, I think, in terms of their starting lineup than I've ever can remember. And so it's good to have a couple of guys who can be switch hitters or bat righty. But yeah, the defense is I don't really know how they fix that. They did give their number one prospect Colt Emerson a pretty big extension recently. Um, I think it was like 95 million for 8 years. I should have looked that up. But it was it was a pretty big extension. People are pretty excited about that. He's in AAA right now. I just checked. I think he's at about a 35% strikeout rate since he came back from injury about a week and a half ago. So I think there's probably a little ways before he comes up to the big league club. But that would significantly improve their defense. So I don't know. We'll see. I think let's see. I think they had an issue a couple of seasons ago where they brought Jared Kelenic up, White Sox legend Jared Kelenic up too soon, and I think he kind of struggled a little bit mentally, with that transition. And so my guess is they're trying to avoid doing that, and also like he's got a 35% strikeout rate, and the Mariners by no means need any help in that department. So that's I think something to look forward to. Julio's had a bit of a down season defensively in center field. I think I don't know if he's like maybe not 100% just in terms of how he's feeling. Offensively, he's been off to a much better start, I think, than he has been um, in his very young but still feels long big league career. So that's definitely a bright spot. But yeah, I think except for second base with Cole Young, their defense is down. So I don't really know how they fix that, but like you would think statistically not all of them can be hitting poorly and striking out all the time at the same time. Especially with Edgar Martinez is like their director of hitting. So hopefully they can figure out how to turn that around. I don't know. Like there's a lot of like it's still early and they play in T-Mobile Park and like we have the marine layer which makes it notoriously hard to hit in T-Mobile Park. The weather's nicer, so hopefully that gets better, but yeah, I don't know. They loaded the bases like a couple of times. I remember on Saturday, I think they loaded the bases like three times and then hit into a double play like all three times. So it just that's you know everybody thinks that their team is the worst at hitting with the bases loaded, but my team is definitely the worst.
I can't say much because the White Sox are actually like weirdly doing better. They still love to load bases and leave every single player stranded. Like that's kind of the White Sox way, but yeah, I get it. I feel it. Uh Brutal. It's been a weird start to this season overall. Like the teams that I was really expecting to do well are not. I mean, I'm also a Mets fan, so like I'm kind of in this constant state of misery
Oof.
with my teams. And then the teams that I were like, well, they're not going to do anything are doing great. The White Sox are randomly doing very well right now, so I don't know what to do with my hands, with my life, with anything.
It's a really strange season. I think the Tampa Bay Rays are like second in the AL
Yeah.
East, just as we all predicted. Yeah, I think there was a time when the entire AL West had like a negative run differential. So just a weird, yeah, I feel like a weird start across the league, in general.
It's that Catherine Tinker devil magic with the Rays. She's doing something behind the scenes. I just can't prove it. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break and then we will get back to what this series might look like. Welcome back. So, pitching matchup. We're recording a little early because I'm bypassing an Angels episode since the White Sox just only see the Angels this month. But as far as pitching goes, it's a little too early for probable pitchers, but what can the White Sox at least expect from Mariners pitching?
The I feel like every year, the Mariners have had like a different, like really dominant guy leading their rotation. I mean, for the most part, they've had a pretty good rotation the last few years, and we've been very spoiled with that. But a friend of mine at the game on Saturday and I were talking about it, and he mentioned that like every year they've had an all-star starter, it's been a different guy. Um, so. I think everyone kind of expected like Brian Wu to be the most dominant. And for the most part, he's looked pretty good. He's had a couple of back-to-back blow-up starts. So hopefully he can turn that around his next start. I don't. I should have looked a little bit closer at the starting rotation. I checked and I didn't see there weren't any pitching probables for this weekend. Emerson Hancock has been the big surprise for the team this year. He on Saturday he had 14 strikeouts. Just made a lot of the Royals hitters look silly.
Hmm.
It was pretty impressive. Yeah, so that I think has been the big surprise for a lot of us, just because he has been like their, like seventh starter. He was in the bullpen for a little bit last year. Um, and yeah, that's been a huge surprise. I think he adjusted his arm slot a little bit, and that seems to have made a huge difference. So that's been a really fun surprise. From Butler from an oblique yet. Uh-oh, this internet is unstable. Oh, are we back?
We're good. I can hear you were breaking up there for a
Oh,
split second, but you're good now.
I know it said your internet is unstable, and I was like, yeah, join the club. Let's see. Um, Bryce Miller, he's working his way back from an oblique injury right now, so he's not in the rotation. Logan Gilbert had some injury struggles last year. He's not quite looked at his dominant self this season. George Kirby has looked pretty good. I think he also had some injury struggles last year, which I think led to having him also have to adjust his arm slot a little bit, and so that has been I think that's led to a little bit of an increase in walks, which he's pretty notorious for not giving up. But like he still looked like pretty good this year. Luis Castillo is a bit of a concern right now. He's had a couple of just blow up starts, just a lot of earned runs, just throwing a lot of pitches. Um, so that's been a tough watch. I mean, he hit 98 last night, which was, encouraging, but yeah, it's been a bit of a tough go of things. So, um yeah, we'll see. I mean, hopefully we get the version of them where they go like 6 innings, don't give up too many earned runs, but they might go four and give up a bunch. So, we'll see.
I am so bummed because on the probable pitchers, I mean they do have this, most recent series and Brian Wu is pitching the day before they come to Chicago and I'm so bummed because he is the prettiest on that team for sure and I'll be in attendance for at least one of these games, so I'm sad that I'll be missing his face. He's a beautiful person.
The Mariners are very handsome.
They are.
I think underrated handsome team, I think. The other day, my husband, this is not important at all, but the other day, my husband, who's not a sports guy, asked me what DH stood for, and I was like, "Oh, that's the designated handsome." And he's like, "What?" And it's just like, don't worry about it.
That's just designated hottie. Don't put
Exactly,
yourself
exactly.
through
Everybody's got
that.
to have at least one.
Brian Wu, DH. So, as far as threats to the White Sox, who do you think on this Mariners team who could instill the most fear into the White Sox on this current Mariners team?
I feel like that's a tough question to answer after watching the Mariners get swept by the Royals.
That's about, hey, the Royals have that like bisexual magic going on right now. Like Vinny and Jack are kissing after home runs. Like they're vibing on a whole other frequency than the rest of Major League Baseball right now. So that it's not fair to put like the last place Royals into that mix.
That's true. Yeah, that is a good point. I do really like those new City Connect jerseys.
I bought the hat.
Um,
I had to.
I wish they had gone a little bit bolder with I don't know. I feel like the uniforms are like too white. I don't know. Salvi's catching gear is phenomenal. I
Mhm.
feel like they could have leaned into that a little bit more. But anyway, um, it's yeah. I feel like it's a little bit of a tough. you know, a tough question to be like, who's gonna be a threat? Because like kind of feels like the Mariners just sort of rolled over this weekend. Um, I think that once the offense gets going, that will be a lot of fun. Um, did you happen to see if there were any left-handed starters? Do the White Sox even have any left-handed
We do have
starters?
some lefties. I don't
Okay.
think you're going to see any lefties in this series.
Okay, well that is a good news for Mariners fans because the Mariners lineup against lefties is wacky. It's one of those things where it's like sometimes it's so stupid that they score 10 runs and we're all just like, yeah, of course. And then, other times they score 1 run and look like they didn't even want to be there. So, I think once the offense kind of gets going. I mean, you watch Josh Naylor in the Central for a while. Like, I mean, he can really unload on a pitch.
Hmm.
And so I'm hopeful that we can get some good offense and the ball will be carrying pretty well in Chicago. Um, Julio's been off to a pretty good offensive start. I think he's got a couple of home runs, and that's always a threat. Um, Mostly I am just hoping that the Mariners can like get guys in once they're on base. I feel like that's been the eternal struggle.
So, and I feel like you have given a lot of your fears already in this podcast, but it's always the question I like to ask, or what are your fears heading into the series?
I think something that's been kind of tough to watch a little bit this so far this season is that they've had like different pockets in the order really get going, and then other pockets are just kind of like a bit of a black hole. And so I'm hoping that we are able to get like more consistency, because it's like if the middle of the order really gets going, I guess Cal's kind of day to day, but like Julio, Josh Naylor, Randy Rosareda, like when those guys are going, like it's a lot of fun. And so I'm hopeful that they're able to have, some consistency on the base pass, but like if they do not, then like it's gonna be a tough watch. Well, for Mariners fans.
So, putting you in the managerial seat, what do they need to do to win this series? Because again, the White Sox, yeah, they are randomly performing better than expected, but at the end of the day, they're still the Chicago White Sox. They're not destined to be great this year. So what do the Mariners need to do to take that series from them?
Yeah, I think it would be good to see a couple of good starts from their starters. I think if they can prevent Munetaka Murakami from hitting home runs, that's that would be a good start for them. That has been, side note, that has been so fun to watch so far. And maybe everyone who was worried about it needs to, you know, apologize for that a little bit.
A lot of people were like, he can't hit a fastball. Oh my gosh, he's not going to be good. They're taking a gamble. And then, meanwhile, Chris Getz still don't like him, but is laughing all the way to the bank on. I just saw something about his jersey sales alone have exceeded just in the U.S. Has have exceeded by like 60% of the rest of the team. Everybody's just buying his jersey, and then it's like 40% of that comes from basically like his hometown in Japan, but he's like overselling jerseys compared to every single other player on the team, which is valid because he is the star, if we're being totally real. But just funny how this whole thing has worked out for him.
Yeah, I mean it's from a hater's perspective, it's been very fun to just watch a bunch of guys who were like, "Oh no, he can't hit." Just, watch him. I think he's leading the league in home
Yeah.
runs,
Hmm.
which I don't know. So, uh as long as the Mariners aren't playing the White Sox, I'm enjoying that. But I think it'd be good to I hope that the Mariners are able to get a couple of quality starts from their starters. Just want to make sure that, they try to keep the earned runs down um, as much as possible. Hopefully, the defense doesn't. I mean, hopefully the defense shows up. I feel like we have not really been seeing that a lot. But yeah, I don't know. Things are a little bit like I'm, to be honest, a little bit unclear of even like who is with the team right now, just because they've had a lot of like very recent injuries. I think they just claimed Jose Suarez from Atlanta. Um, I think he's out of option, so he's got to be on the major league roster. I don't know. There's a lot of moving pieces right now that are kind of being announced a little bit before, like, pregame starting this before the Mariners play Atlanta at home. So I don't know. I just kind of hope that that we get some decent starts and that the offense is consistent, you know, all the way through and not just like a couple of guys are rolling and a couple of guys are just striking out.
So, moving away from our teams, obviously, this is where I love to bring in your thoughts, opinions, hot or ice cold takes, and just kind of where you want to see this season go as far as just a more broad baseball lens.
Yeah, let's see. I hope that as we are approaching the end of the collective bargaining agreement, I really hope that there's a lot more kind of pro labor, pro player conversation happening in, like the general like baseball sphere, I think, but for people who are maybe like not paying attention so much to baseball, um, it's like there doesn't have to be an owner lockout. And I'm concerned that that is going to happen and really put things behind, just in terms of like guys getting contracts or extensions signed. It's like I think it's going to be bad for the fans. My thought, and this is like such a double-edged sword, because like personally, I hate how difficult it is to try and like watch my baseball team, and how expensive it's gotten, to try and like, figure out where they're playing and like what channel and what streaming service, and it's like that's been a huge pain, especially because MLB took over the broadcast for the Mariners after Root Sports went under. RIP, pour one out for Root Sports. Um, so that's been really frustrating. My only thing is that like since there is so much money in all of these different TV deals, I feel like that more than like goodwill between the managers, or not the managers, the owners and the players. I think it's gonna save the season from getting completely locked out or locked out from a long time, just because all of these different broadcasting corporations have a lot of money invested. And so my guess is they're not going to want to lose that MLB is not going to want to lose out on, it's like they're not going to have all this like money invested and not like stream the game. So I don't know. I'm still kind of like figuring out how I feel about all of this stuff, because like on the one hand I hate how hard it is to watch TV, but like on the other hand, just because there's so much money in that, we might be okay. Um, yeah, I don't know, but I think a salary cap is silly. And I've yet to have someone explain it to me in a way that convinces me otherwise. So I guess come at me, bro, if you if you believe that a salary cap is gonna fix all of the problems. But like the Mariners are gonna be on the cheaper side of things no matter how much money they can or can't spend. So like um I don't know. It's not gonna fix that. Um,
Yeah, I see your point. I am very much of the a salary cap won't fix things if there's not a salary floor. Um,
mhm.
and I'm also I your point about the different teams and their different stations now. Chicago for the White Sox have CHSN, but it's also the Bulls and the Blackhawks, and then the Cubs have the Marquee Network. And Jerry Reinsdorf, famously responsible for the lockout in the 90s, lest we forget his involvement in that. I don't think he wants that CHSN money to be wasted as well. And that's one that'll be what he'll have maybe 2 years left if he's even still alive to see it. He's got 2 years left until the Ishbis take over. Because they're kind of scheduled to come in and take control of the White Sox in 2029. So I don't think he's gonna spend one of his last seasons as the majority owner in the lockout. And he's trouble. Again, he's the whole reason behind the lockout in the 90s. My hatred just comes out when I have to bring up his name, when I have to invoke that.
Yeah. Always a new reason to just like hate a baseball owner. I don't know. It's like not even fun as a hater when like it just you hear stuff like that because it's just like, come on.
Just
Um,
goes into that
yeah.
like no ethical billionaires thing, but that's a whole other
That's a
podcast
different podcast.
that I could host, but won't. I, I need to keep my job. Uh, anyway, well, that's what I've got for you. Um, Again, thank you so much for coming back on this year. It's always nice to talk to the gals about baseball. No offense to the dudes on the show occasionally, but I love talking to women about baseball more than anything. So thank you. Please just remind people where they can find you if they don't, for whatever reason, not already follow you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. You can follow me on Blue Sky at baseball dash broad dot b the what is it dot b sky dot social or dot social.
Social. I mean, we
There we
tag
go. Yeah.
you, but they
Yeah.
have to make it so difficult. So whatever. All right. Well, thank you. Best of luck in this series.
Yeah, thanks. I'm really looking forward to it.
All right. Bye.